Alright, welcome back to another SimplySed video. Best videos you're ever going to see in your life. Just a quick thing before, remember to just like, comment, subscribe and whatnot on the videos, just as it does give me a good impression as to whether to keep doing these sort of videos or should focus on other avenues or other topics, to say the least. Anyway, let's crack into it. So Infused have revealed their new CSGO lineup. So it's going to be a very interesting one, to say the least, in terms of the lineup that's came around it. For now, they have kept three of the same players that they had previously. So it's going to be Fry1, MCK, Aaron as the three people that remain, and the two new players to come in are going to be Zed and danceyz to come in to replace Red Snake and Trials. Now, Infused, who through the Elite Series didn't start off too well last season, but then they started coming back into it with a few decent results, and then maybe slipped up again towards the end. Um, Overall, through the lineup, I think Red Snake being replaced was probably expected. Didn't have the best of tournaments overall, but he was there as the primary IGL and the experience that Red Snake brings. So I'm not 100% sure as to the reason why he was replaced, but at the same point, maybe performances wise, it could be put into question. Trials, I think again it was expected that he was definitely not going to be within that infused lineup for season two, but I do think that a shout out has to be given to Trials. I do think that he came on. Bear in mind, getting the opportunity to play for Infused for him when he was on the subs bench initially for, I think it was Eccles that he came in to replace. Um, I think you've definitely got to give him some credit for the way that he did perform. It was definitely a learning curve for him, and I think that going forward, it's probably the right decision for Infused to make, still without a shadow of a doubt. But so Fry1, I mean, that dude literally carried Infused in my books last season in terms of the performances that he had. He had so many rounds where, in terms of, he just absolutely came up trumps, pulling off a lot of clutches. So to keep Fry1, as there was various rumours that he would be leaving, I think is a very, very good and right decision for them to make, and hopefully, well, I mean, I'm assuming in a way that you can kind of build the team around Fry1, just in terms of him being one of the major fragging like potentials that you've got on that team. But at the same point, now you look through the rest of the lineup and there's a lot of fragging power there. Secondly, you've got MCK. I think definitely they're the second best player for them last season. I think like very, very consistent as well. And I think he's a very smart player in terms of the way that he takes a lot of risks from when I've seen him play, but I think it's always smart decisions, and he seems to actually get out of it and execute it well. So I think that keeping him there as well is a very, very big an important decision for that infused lineup. Then you've got Aaron. So I mean, Aaron's a weird one to me. I mean, in terms of a year ago, most people were saying that Aaron was near enough one of the best UK players. Um, I think it's pretty common knowledge at this point that CS isn't his main priority, which you've got to respect in more ways than one. But even so, considering he like that considered, he does remain one of the like better UK players, and he's a very talented player. So hopefully we can see a bit more of the old Aaron come back within this new lineup. We saw glimpses of it last season, but I don't think anyone saw the kind of consistency that you might have expected from him, or that we'd seen on a previous scenario. But hopefully he gets back to old form, because of when he is on form, he is unstoppable. Um, Fourthly, so obviously one of the players that they've brought back, which is indeed Zed. So Zed used to be part of Infused for a long period of time. I think it was like for near enough like 2 years, near enough from like I-53 onwards. And he's always been a staple for Infused. Like personally, I think he took a break near enough. I think after, I can't remember how long. I think he was with like Infused for near enough around 2 years. Took a bit of a break until like early 2016. Then played with some mixes and whatnot in various UK tournaments, but he wasn't committing to an actual team. But good to see him back again. Very talented player. Not too sure how much he's been playing like off and on since that point, but at the same point, definitely be interesting to see how well he does perform. And then lastly, it is danceyz. So danceyz, very, very talented player. I mean, a lot of people have always been praising him in terms of the potential that kid does have. I think there's been a lot of the time before then people have necessarily like questioned his dedication to kind of actually make it and progress. I think from the rumor mill that's been out before, in terms of that, like one week he could be very, very committed and he wants to do everything, and then the next week maybe not so much, in terms of some of the previous rosters that he's been in, but that could potentially be down to the other rosters that he's playing with. You never know in those particular scenarios. But I mean, yeah, so danceyz is coming from CEX, who unfortunately seem to have been hit by the whole not being in the Elite Series and still having one of the best teams outside of it, meaning that danceyz has now gone to Infused, and Hems did also leave CEX in order to try and obtain a position on an Elite Series lineup. So yeah, I mean, overall, I think it's a very good lineup for Infused to announce. I think going into it, we've seen what the new method lineup would be, so that's always going to be an important one, and the method lineup looks very, very strong as well. But I think this is definitely a lineup that can compete, especially if they are putting the time in. I think a lot of Elite Series teams last season wasn't really practicing as much as they could be a lot of the time. I mean, in fairness, a lot of the rosters that have now changed were near enough dead from the middle of the season, if not earlier. So it's kind of expected in a way, but hopefully with these new lineups, then everyone will try and take it as seriously as possible. And yeah, I mean, all I can say is good luck to Infused. It looks like a very strong lineup. I'm not too sure on the specifics in terms of who's going to be IGL in this particular scenario. I mean, looking through it, then maybe Aaron potentially. I mean, MCK potentially as well. Zed potentially. Fry one, I'd really doubt. Same as danceyz. So it's going to be between MCK, Aaron, and Zed. Not too sure if Zed's going to necessarily do it, especially coming back after a bit of time out. So maybe Aaron or MCK as the two, which I'd probably suggest one of those. But yeah, I'm not too sure on the rest of the roles specifically. Especially as danceyz, you see AWPing a lot. Fry one, you see AWPing a lot. Mix generally is more as that like entry, second entry, I'm guessing from what I've seen predominantly from last season anyway. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the roles get mixed up. But yeah, fair play to Infused. It'll be interesting to see how they perform. But that will be the end of this particular video. We'll try and keep up to date with loads of short little segmented videos about roster changes that are upcoming. So remember to like, comment, subscribe, hate, whatever it is you feel like doing, and that'll be the end of the video. So peace.